What's that all about? You're probably asking by now. I've been reading books like crazy. Been reading books like crazy. This particular book, The Richest Man in the World, recommends I read. So why shouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Right? Almost finished this one. This book was written by the author who invented the secret behind the secret. Who wouldn't read that one, right? And this one, my cousin wrote in Israel. Fascinating book about courage. And James Allen? You tell me about James Allen, I'll be on the next plane to acquire that treasure. James Allen, you know what an amazing person he is? Almost finished this book, by the way. Almost finished. Almost finished this book, which has close to 1,000 pages in it. Almost finished. I don't just read books. I underline the words I read. I review it every single day. And I read out loud. Again, you might be wondering, why are you reading out loud? Why? Well, reading out loud is good for you. It gets engraved into the brain. It goes into the memory. And repeating those great ideas every single day has fascinating results. Produces fascinating results. What was that all about? I just played a song which is sung by an amazing singer called Joey Newcomb. He praises God and he thanks God. And he takes a verse from the Bible which reads as, "This time I will once again thank you, God." It's in reference to the shout out, to the expression that the matriarch Leah said when she gave birth to Jehudah. Jehudah was all about courage, tenacity. And it takes a lot of courage and tenacity to incorporate such an idea, such an insight of thanking God at all times, all the time, every single day, being full of gratitude. To be full of gratitude takes a Jehudah. Sometimes situations are challenging. You're dealing with difficulties, and you can still thank God. You can still see the good in it. That's what the matriarch Leah taught us. You know, it's fascinating. I listen to the song every single day. The song I just played on my keyboard, music keyboard, I listen to it every single morning. Besides Saturday, of course. Every single morning, practically. And you might be wondering why besides Saturday? Well, one day a week I could rest a little bit. The Lord said work 7 days. Sorry, the Lord said work 6 days, rest on the seventh. And the Lord worked for 6 days and rested on the seventh. In any case, what's the message here? What's going on? Yesterday I was working, and all of a sudden I hear music playing. And I was like, hey, that song sounds familiar, but I don't live in a Jewish neighborhood. It's a Jewish song. I'm like, I don't live in a Jewish neighborhood. Where's that song coming from? Am I dreaming? It's like da 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 da. I was like, I must be dreaming here. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It was miraculous. It was like as if my gratitudes gave birth to this miracle. It was so joyous. It was so beautiful. It was a parade of Chabad, Lubavitch cars that come past my house. They were celebrating the festival of Hanukkah. And one of the songs they were playing was this particular song, but it was like a miracle. It was like my favorite song playing. And it's not a Chabad song, it's not a Lubavitch song, which is actually quite miraculous and unusual. I mean, most of the songs that the Chabad Lubavitch people is generally Lubavitch songs. So it was pretty miraculous, I must say. Today's Hanukkah. It's the fifth candle we lit tonight. 5 candles. And what's 5 candles? It symbolizes my relationship with my offsprings. It symbolizes, yeah. What is the miracle of Hanukkah? You know, a lot of people are into this idea of, I'm a victim. Poor old me. It's not fair. Poor old me. Why am I made to suffer? Why is everybody so cruel and unkind towards me? Why did he rear end me as I was driving? Why did he inflict pain and suffering upon me? Poor old me. I'm a victim. Think as though that if you build up your life and you incorporate a technique in your life wherein you never allow yourself to walk around and say, poor old me, victim, and you never allow yourself to be interpreted by other people's interpretation of you. You're not part of other people's dreams. You're part of your own dream. Your life takes off to unprecedented places. Poor old me. I'm a victim. He rear-ended me. Maybe when you got into your car to go to your client, you should have thought to yourself, hey, my client should be coming to me. I'll tell my client to come to me instead of going to her. Or perhaps when the electricity went off in your neighborhood, perhaps you should think to yourself, maybe I should have had a generator so I wouldn't be affected this way. That's the way wealthy people think. Wealthy people don't walk around saying, poor old me, I'm a victim. The generator went off. Or rather, I beg your pardon, the electricity went off in the neighborhood. Poor old me, I paid my bill. That's not fair. Poor old me, I'm a victim. That's not how the wealthy people go through life. And wealthy people live with a kind of reality, with a kind of success which they expect. They expect successes. They think about successes all the time. They don't think about poor old me. I'm here to suffer. Got a bill. Poor old me. And they don't walk around telling everybody, I'm a victim. Look what you did to me. Feel guilty. There are a lot of people in this world who love to make others feel guilty. And they walk around with the poor old me, I'm a victim attitude. They blame others and they take revenge on others. And they live in this paradigm of fear and guilt. Poor old me, poor old me. Imagine if the Jewish people who were victorious over the Hellenists and the Yevanim, the Greeks, imagine if they would have said, poor old me, we are the minority, we are inferior, they are superior. Poor old me, we need to surrender, we need to throw in the towel. Imagine if they would have done that. What would have remained of the Jewish people? Think about that. If the Jewish people would have thrown in the towel, there'd be nothing left to them. On a similar note, any group of people which walks around with this mentality of, poor old me, everybody's cruel and unkind towards me and I have nothing to do with it. Actually, wherever you go, you are there. The whole poor old me mentality doesn't produce any positive results. None at all. Poor old me. I had a poor upbringing. My parents were unkind to me. I was always kind to everybody else. Poor old me. My friends were not nice to me. Poor old me. I'm a victim. But feel bad for me. You see where I'm going here? I'm not doing this in a way to be cruel and unkind to you. I'm just trying to help you understand how all victorious, all successful people, all wealthy, smart people don't walk around with the poor old me mentality. And they don't ask others to give them respect. They don't ask others to recognize, acknowledge, validate, and care for them. That's not how they do it. They work from a totally different angle, from a totally different perspective. Now, am I actually advocating for being on your own and not getting yourself ever what you deserve, not standing up for your rights? No, on the contrary, I'm telling you, stand up for your rights, care for yourself, but take responsibility wherever you can. There are many people in the spiritual community who believe in this concept of we attract what we get. And therefore, I've attracted the parking space wherever I go. I always attract a good parking space. But they fail to talk about the times when they don't attract the good parking spaces. And they fail to mention the fact that I didn't attract that parking space because of A, B, C, and D. My point is, take responsibility for all areas of your life, because that's what wealthy people do. Take responsibility for the good and take responsibility for the not so good. It's of vital importance, and that's the message which is symbolized by the festival of Hanukkah. If the Jewish people would have thrown in the towel and said, poor old me, this is impossible, there's no way we could win, we are inferior, there's the majority here coming to swallow us up, they would have said that, there'd be nothing left of them. And it's not just the Jewish people, it's all people. Anytime a small group of people survives, it takes courage, tenacity, resolve, determination. The whole poor old me mindset has no chance of surviving. As I saw today from James Allen, he says, the survival of the fittest, evolution, which many people don't want to believe in, they shun Darwin for advocating for. He says the survival of the fittest doesn't come from the poor old me or the bullying mindset. It comes from the loving mindset, the all around love, even love to those who don't have love within their heart, and that's why they're unkind and cruel. Those who are cruel, they don't survive. Because cruelty eats a person up from inside. It corrodes the soul of the human being who's cruel. The survival of the fittest is not a reality, is not an idea for those who consider themselves either bullies or victims. I want to follow on with the amazing story pertaining to the unbelievable events that unfolded when Joseph became the Prime Minister of England. Not England, I beg your pardon. The Prime Minister of Egypt a couple thousand years ago. I think 4,000 years ago. The Bible relates a story. It conveys the message within the story. And it displays the events that took place when Joseph became the king. The second in command, for that matter. Now, Joseph had a dream. And everybody shunned him for his dream. Everybody told him, please, don't waste our time. Your dream's going to go nowhere. He told his brothers who disliked him. He said to them, I have a dream. They're like, take your dream and keep quiet about it. We don't want to hear about it. Nobody wanted to hear. And most people, when you tell them your dream is pointless and futile and we don't want to hear about it, most people are like, not wasting my time. Why should I waste my time in a dream? Everybody told me it's pointless, it's futile, it's not of any worth. Most people are like, forget it. It's unworthy. Just let it go. Forget about it. Just be that little, as we say in the Jewish term, schlepper. Just be that schlepper for everybody else. But not Joseph. He didn't give up on his dream. His brothers sold him into slavery. He kept up with his dream. Prior to him being sold into slavery, he was thrown into a pit. Didn't give up on his dream. Sold into slavery. He still thought about his dream. He's going to one day be there to be the king and the ruler over his brothers. And they're going to bow down to him. He comes to Egypt, sold as a slave. He works his way up, and he thinks he's finally there. Thrown into a jail, into a dungeon. Oh. He could have turned around and said, poor old me, I'm in jail. That's not what Joseph does. He's persistent. He's consistent. Doesn't stop. He was totally justified. It was cruel what happened to him. Why was he thrown into jail? Why me? No. He believed in his dream. He didn't fall back into the why did this happen to me? Poor old me mentality. Persisted with consistency, with resolve. And then finally, after 10 years, he turns to the butler and he says to him, do me a favor. You're on your way out. I just interpreted your dream for you. I've done a favor. I've done you a favor. I've interpreted your dream for you. You're on your way out. Please remember me. And the butler's like, sure, I'll meet you on the other side. He forgets him, Joseph. And Joseph's like, oh my God, I'm here for another year, he thinks to himself. God, why did you do this to me? Poor old me. Poor old me. And then finally 2 years later, the butler remembers him and he tells Pharaoh, I know somebody who knows how to interpret dreams. His name is Joseph. Get him out of that jail. And that's what happens. They rush him out of jail. And what does Joseph do when he comes out of jail? He tells Pharaoh, it's all God's wisdom. All my wisdom comes from God. And that was a bit of a crazy thing to do. A wacky thing to do. Pharaoh doesn't believe in God. What are you doing, Joseph? It's like, no. I know that when I live with this higher power, when I live with this tenacity and strength, that's how I'm successful. that's how my success comes to fruition. That's where my results come from. And I'm not afraid. After 12 years, he learned, after 22 years, really, he learned his lesson. He's like, I am not afraid. Nobody's going to deter me, he says. And he mentions God to a man who didn't believe in God. Nonetheless, he's successful. And he became the king. He became the second in command. I beg your pardon. But his brothers bowed down to him a short while later. Powerful message, isn't that? I've heard this message being conveyed by many spiritual teachers in the Jewish and in the non-Jewish world. Powerful message. That's the message today. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I'm sure you've seen by now I've been advertising my videos like crazy. Because I know I have a message to deliver to the world, and I'm not going to keep quiet about it. And you also should do that. Share your messages with the world. Serve others. Be of service to others, because those who are of service to others, they are rewarded by God. That's a promise. I love you all. Have a great week ahead. God bless you. Have a good night, and have a great Shabbat, a great Saturday. And don't forget, I beg your pardon. Don't forget to drop those amazing comments in the comment section down below. I look forward to seeing them. Mike, thanks so much for your comments last week, and for so many others who have been leaving comments one after another. I'm ever so grateful. I am so blessed. I love you all. Thank you all. And thank you again. Not again. Thank you for the first time to the amazing new subscribers who have come on board. I'm so grateful. God bless you. I love you from the bottom of my heart. I love you all. I love you, my amazing viewers. You inspire me greatly. I love to serve you, and I'm here to be of service to you. Have a great week.